What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here to do my preview video for the Miami Dolphins versus Indianapolis Colts, which is obviously on Sunday at Hard Rock Stadium. It is a home game for us, so hopefully there will be, somewhat of a home field advantage, whether it be the heat or the crowd noise. I think that I'm not sure about this, but I think the Dolphins are going to be wearing throwback uniforms, which is cool. But I think they're wearing darker uniforms, the darker color, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about that, because that will make the heat a little bit worse for the Dolphins team, because obviously darker colors absorb heat better. So hopefully not. But anyway, getting more to this game, though, look, at the end of the day, there's going to definitely be opportunities for this team. I mean, they have, we have some significant injuries and significant players out, and so do they. And there's definitely going to be opportunities for this team, to get a win today. This is definitely a game that they can win. This is definitely a game that they should win, and definitely a game that they have to win because, with the must-win game shit aside, like, they have to win this game just simply because of the fact that, if you want to make the playoffs, 1-3 is not going to be the way to get there, right? Getting back to 2-2, especially because if I'm keeping it honest, there's almost no chance you beat the Bucks next week. So, and yes, there is a soft part of the schedule coming up, and there's definitely potential wins against Jacksonville, the Falcons, Houston, New York, the Giants, right? New York twice, the Jets, that is, and then the Giants. Yes, but at the same time, we have to, and this is part of the reason why I constantly say that they have to prove it to me. Because with this Dolphins team this year, what they've shown us in the first few weeks is not good. And I have concerns about the coaching, the play calling, the personnel usage, the run defense, the pass rush, the offensive line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So, and they just have not played good football, and they're in the bottom of the league in almost every statistical category that exists, on both offense and defense. So let's get into this. We're first going to take a look at the injury report. Excuse me. So obviously you can see that there is one player, Michael Dieter, who is listed out. We're going to get to that in just a second. But before I do, obviously Tua's going to be missing this game because he's currently still on injured reserve. And he will, the soonest that he can come back is the Jacksonville game for London. That's the soonest that he can come back. Raekwon Davis is still on injured reserve. The soonest he can come back is next week against Tampa Bay. And Michael Dieter now is going to, as you see, he was limited and then did not participate. So he had sustained some injuries in the game this past week, and then apparently either re-aggravated or worsened those injuries in practice Wednesday, and that is the reason why now he's going to likely be put onto injured reserve with a foot and a quad injury. So 2 injuries there. He is officially out of this game. Greg Mance will be taking his spot as the starter. So we are going to have yet again another offensive line lineup. Okay? Which to me is not good. I don't like that at all. But it is what it is. So let's just continue on, right? And then so Will Fuller, he did not participate, then was limited, then is full with a chest and an elbow. Obviously, none of the other guys have game status designations, so they're all expected to play. But Baker's got a hamstring, Howard with a shoulder, Brandon Jones with an ankle, and Devontae Parker with a shoulder. So, these other guys, I mean, these are all really important players for the Dolphins, right? It's not just that we're missing Raekwon Davis, now Michael Dieter, and Tua, which are all huge, but we do have guys who are battling injuries. And so that, you know, if players are not 100%, for every percentage point that comes off of their health, that's 1% less effective that they can be. You feel me? So, you know, it does suck to have all these important guys who are also battling injuries. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you look at the Indianapolis Colts, and this is one of the reasons why I say there should be some opportunities, it's not just because they're 0-3. And let's be fair, the Colts are 0-3, but who did they play? They lost to Seattle in week 1, the Rams in week 2, and Tennessee last week. So it's not like they lost to scrubs. They lost to really good teams that are all expected to be in the playoff conversation, if not make it to the playoffs, or even in some cases like Tennessee, win your division, or the Rams win your division, right? Or even Seattle, you know, might be pushing for theirs, right? So you know what I'm saying? So it's not like they lost, and they held each one of those teams to under 30 points. So this team's not, I don't believe that this team is as bad as people think based off of their start. You got to look at the full picture. But again, there are going to be some opportunities, not just because they're 0-3, but because they do have actually also a bunch of significant injuries. So first, let's look at the players that are ruled out. We have Quentin Nelson, their guard, who is their best offensive lineman by far and probably one of the best players at his position, if not the best. That's huge for them. They're going to be missing Kwity Paye, another starter on their offensive line, Braden Smith, and Carl Willis at safety, along with Rock Yassin, however you pronounce his name, at corner. So those are all significant players who are not going to be in there, right? Again, we're missing Raekwon Davis, Tua, Dieter, so it balances out to some degree, but their injury concerns are a bit more than ours overall, right? So that should allow some matchup advantages for the Dolphins that they should hopefully be able to exploit. Because you also have Mark Lewinsky, Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz, who are questionable. I mean, if you look, you know, they were limited. Lewinsky didn't practice Thursday, but then, you know, full Friday, limited. You know, Carson Wentz has got 2 ankles. It's both of his ankles. And then you also have Jack Doyle with a back who's questionable. The rest of the guys, Eric Fisher, Darius Leonard, and Antoine Woods, don't have game status designation, should be good to go. And the questionable guys you do expect to play. But as I mentioned with the Dolphins players, for every percentage point off of their health, right, that is one less percentage point that they're, or for every percentage point that they are less on their health, they are 1 percentage point less, potentially less effective. So, there's definitely going to be some opportunities for this Dolphins team to get a W. Let's see. All right. So now getting over here, though, let's get a little bit more in depth. So we're going to, you know, take a look at both of the teams' league standings thus far. We're going to look at, you know, how each team performed in their previous game, et cetera, et cetera. So the Dolphins are obviously 1-2. The Colts are 0-3. We're 1 game better than them. But of course, as we know, we're also, you know, a Xavier Howard forced fumble away from being 0-3 when, you know, in the Patriots game. So if we're keeping it real with ourselves, you know, just like people want to say that, oh, well, we could be 2-1 if it wasn't for the refs. I mean, look, guys, I'm going to keep it real with you. I hate that argument for a couple reasons. 1, because you shouldn't have to rely on the refs. And 2, while it's true that probably should have been a defensive pass interference, the only reason why we were even tied and made it to overtime to begin with was because of the fact that we got a defensive pass interference call that set us up at the 1 yard line, and then it took us 4 fucking tries to get into the end zone, and we still barely got it. So nobody's going to convince me that the offense would have been able to drive the rest of the way and get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion all on their own without getting 50 yards of help, because we were only at the 50-yard line. So, right? So, like, people need to calm down with that. But it is reasonable to say that, you know, the Patriots were about to beat us in that game. Thankfully, Xavier Howard made a play, right? But that's your team making a play. That's not relying on the refs to win you the game. You feel me? So, anyway, we're not that far off from having the same record. And we didn't play as good of teams. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are really good, yeah. And the Raiders are pretty good too. But the Patriots are, all right. It's definitely not the powerhouse lineup that the Colts had to play, right? And obviously we don't have as nearly many injuries as they do. So they've definitely had it worse than we have, right? You feel me? Like, that's important context. It's all important context as far as I'm concerned. People don't like when I talk about that because they like to think that our Dolphins are just going to be the greatest thing that ever existed each and every week. But unfortunately, that's not the reality. So let's actually take a look at some of these league standings to get more in depth and get some additional context. So total yards for the season. And so just real quick, on the right-hand side, on the far right, is the Colts and where they stand. And on the left is two sets of numbers. Those are both the Dolphins. The middle set of numbers, or the right-hand set for the Dolphins, is what we are at currently. And then the numbers to the left of that are where we were before. And then obviously my little fancy arrows here. Up arrows mean we went up in a stat or a statistic or a standing, a stat or a standing. And down arrows mean we went down. Red, good. Green, bad. Okay, so total yards. The Dolphins only have 805 on the season. The Colts have 955. So we went from 28th the week before down to 29th, and they're 23rd. So in that, head-to-head matchup, they've got us beat. They're 6 spots better than we are. Yards per game, and they're producing more than we are, right? Yards per game, we have only 237.5, or excuse me, we went from 237.5 up to 268.3, which took us from 31st in the league up to 29th. Marginal step forward, but they have 318.3, which is 23rd. Another category they have is beaten. Total passing, we have 599. They have 717. We're 30th. They're 25th. They beat us there. Passing yards per game, we have 199.7, which is 30th in the league. They have 239, which is 24th. They have us beat there. Total rushing, we have 278. They have 309. We're 23rd. They're 19th. They have us beat. Rushing yards per game, we have 92.7, which is 23rd. They have 103, which is 18th. Another category they have us beat on offense. Let's also note that we have the worst offensive line in the game as of right now, but they have the second worst offensive line, and 2 of their starting offensive line are not going to be playing. So again, there will be some opportunities. Total points, we have 45, which is 30th. They have 56, which is 25th. Yet again, beating us. We have 15 points per game, which is 30th, and they have 18.7, 24th. Yet again, beating us. But it doesn't stop there, unfortunately. When we get to the defensive side of the ball, we're giving up 401.3 yards per game, which is 25th. They're giving up 373.3, which is 18th. And again, they had to play much more difficult teams than we do. The 3 teams they had to play in the first 3 weeks are definitely better than the 3 teams that, I mean, look, if you just take it by week, the Seattle Seahawks are better than the Patriots. The Rams are better than the Bills, although that's probably relatively close. But I would still say the Rams are better than the Bills. And the Titans are better than the Raiders. Now, that also is probably close. But, I mean, if you just look at those head-to-head, so you get the point. All right. But let's see, yards per game, we're giving up 200, or passing yards per game, we're giving up 282, which is 22nd in the league. They're giving up 243, which I know doesn't seem like that much of a difference, but look, that puts them at 11th in the league. Rushing yards per game, we're giving up 136, which is 27th. They're giving up 140.3. Finally, a category we actually beat them in, and just barely, right? By 4.3 yards difference, and that's the one spot difference. They're right behind us. Let's see though, points per game, 27.3 we're giving up, which is 23rd. 26.7 for them, which is 22nd. So they are just ahead of us. But again, they played 3 really good fucking teams and did manage to keep them all under 30 points. Important context. Takeaways. Finally, we're going to have some statistics where we do. And this is another area in which we could take advantage of the situation and use this to our, use our strengths and possibly come out with a win here. So let's see. Takeaways, we have 5, which has us 8 at 8th, but they have 6, which has them at 5th, so they still do beat us in that category. Interceptions, we have 2, that has us at 17th. They have 3, which has them at 10th, so they're still beating us. But let's see. We're both tied for 3 fumbles. We're technically at 4th, and they're technically at 3rd, but obviously we're really tied there. Sacks, we have 5, which is 26th. They also have 5, which is 25th, so we're technically tied, but that's where we are on the list. So I'm sorry, I kind of lied to you guys, because they are beating us in these statistics too, until I guess we get to this last one, passes defensed, where we have 17, they have 9, we're 3rd, and they're 26th. So, sorry about that. I mean, look, it sucks because this is definitely a game we should be able to win, and there's definitely reason to believe that we can, and there's going to be opportunities. The Dolphins just have to take advantage of it and execute and make it happen, and so on and so forth. But this team, I don't think, even as much as they've had a bunch of injuries, I don't think that they're as bad as their 0-3 record would suggest. And really, if you look at their league standings and stuff like that, they're not that bad. They played 3 really good teams to start the season. Anyway, let's take a look, though, at our head-to-head matchup based off of our previous game. So, this game, the right side is the Colts, the left side is the Dolphins, and this is what the Colts did when they played the Tennessee Titans, their performance, right? And then this is ours this past week in our game, right? So we scored 28 points, they scored 16, so we win there. We had 330 total yards to their 265, so we do win that. We beat them in passing yards, 197 to 178, and in rushing, 133 to 87. Too bad our coaches just like to go away from things that are successful. Doesn't make any sense. They did beat us in yards per play, though, with 4.6 to our 4.2. Neither team lost a fumble or threw an interception. We edged them out a little bit in third down conversion, although 33% is not particularly great, to their 25%. And especially considering the fact that we currently have the worst third down defense in the entire league, right? So we can't let that continue. This should be an opportunity for us to improve that stat a little bit. We had the ball for 31-13, which, keep in mind, though, obviously was, a little bit of overtime in that Raiders game. So that's factored in. 25-54 for them. And then 8 penalties for us and 4 for them. Just a quick look at the quarterbacks, because Jacoby Brissett is going to be playing for us. Carson Wentz is expected to play. We'll get to the keys to victory in a minute. Jacoby Brissett is 62.9% completion percentage for 384 yards and no touchdowns, 1 interception on the season with a 67.8 passer rating. And Carson Wentz is 60.4, a little bit behind Jacoby, but for more yards, 692, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 85.1 passer rating. So obviously has the overall better stat line. And frankly, he's the overall better quarterback. So, keys to victory on offense, the Dolphins have to run the ball. They have to commit to the run. They have to use it. And, I mean, unless they get completely shut down. But so far, that hasn't been the case. The Dolphins running backs have actually been producing relatively well when they actually get touches. So they need to run the ball. I think they need to try and take a few more shots down the field a little bit earlier in the game. Not a lot, but sprinkle it in here and there, and, you know, use players like Waddle to their strengths instead of the, 4 yards per average depth of target. Like, that's absolutely outrageous, right? And then no costly mistakes, penalties, or turnovers because, unfortunately, this Dolphins team has been very undisciplined to this point as well, and that's another problematic factor. Defensively, they need to shut down Jonathan Taylor. They can't let him have a good day on the ground because that is one way the Colts could absolutely win this. If they have a good day on the ground rushing, right, they eat up clock, they keep our offense off the field to begin with, and then shut us down when we are on the field because we're not that good, right, then it could be a long day for the Dolphins, and, it doesn't even have to be a very high-scoring game. They could end up, winning with low points. It's funny too because I had a number for my score prediction, but I'm actually going to lower it a little bit because I don't think this is going to be a very high scoring game if I'm keeping it real. Let's see. And then contain Wentz to the pocket and create pressure on him. That will then allow you to do the third thing and get some turnovers. But that's how you got to do it, man. And like I said, there's going to be opportunities. Their offensive line is the second worst, second only to us. So hopefully you can see guys like Agba and Phillips get into the backfield, and create some pressure. Don't give Wentz an opportunity to get out of the pocket, contain, keep the edge set, etc., etc. But it starts with stopping the run because they're probably going to try and lean on that quite a bit, especially considering Carson Wentz has 2 sprained ankles and so on and so forth. So, and he's probably going to be like super taped up too. But then, shut down the run game, contain Wentz in the pocket, get pressure, and then get turnovers defensively. So here's the thing. For this game, look, last week I gave the Dolphins a chance and I said that they could come out with a win against the Raiders. Yes, it's true. We were close, but when you watch the game and you take all factors into account, it really wasn't that close. It wasn't as close as it should have been. We shouldn't have even gotten that last touch. If we're keeping it real, there's a high probability that without that defensive pass interference call, we would not have gotten the fucking 8 points required to get us even tied to go to overtime. So, and then, of course, we were the one play away from losing against the Patriots. And there's been so much just disappointment. The offensive line has been absolute trash like I was worried about. The injury situation has been an ongoing problem and continues to worsen like I was worried about. Some of our depth is concerning like I was worried about, but it's even more than that. The coaching has been bad. The play calling has been terrible. The personnel usage has been terrible. The run defense has not been good, right? And so they have an opportunity this week. Our pass rush hasn't been good. We've been getting decent pressure, but, we haven't been getting, like, any sacks, and it definitely needs to be substantially better than it is. And it really concerns me because I think that my evaluation is that there are just so many issues. And so look, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I gave them an opportunity last week. I said that they were going to edge out a win against the Raiders, even though they are a better team than the Colts. But this week, I'm sorry. Like, they got to prove it to me. And they got to come out and earn this win. And I'm going to have them losing 20-16. Originally, I was going to go 23-19. But I think that might even be a little bit high of a score. So I'm dropping each team by a field goal, okay, down to 20-16. It's going to be a 20-16 margin in favor of the Raiders. And that's only because they get 2 touchdowns and then 2 field goals, whereas we get 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they do come away with the W. And again, to be clear, there are certainly going to be opportunities for this team. And to reiterate how I started, they can win this game. They should win this game. But they, goddammit, have to win this game, man. They cannot lose against the Colts. I am going to predict a slim loss for the Dolphins, which obviously would send them to 1-3. But I'm going to be there, man. I'm going to be hoping. I'm going to be rooting for them, screaming for them. And I hope, and it's not even just, I'm sorry, let me add one more thing. They've been super undisciplined too. So many penalties. It's not just the bad coaching and all the rest of that stuff, which is all super important. Tua's not going to be in this. Oh, one more thing to add to that. Brissett, nobody knows Jacoby Brissett better than the Indianapolis Colts and their coaching staff and so on and so forth. So, you know, if they know how to, if any team knows how to shut them down, it's the Colts. So because of all of these massively big concerns and red flags, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give the edge to the Colts 20-16. And I'm just going to hope that they prove me wrong, man, because, you know, I gave them, and just to wrap this up, look, man, throughout the preseason and the offseason, I gave them a few additional wins. They earned it from me because, you know, I saw some glimmers of hope. Tua was looking good. You know, the offense looked pretty solid overall, and they got me up to 9 wins. They earned their 10th win, as ugly as it was, in week 1 against the Patriots to get me to a 10-7 record. Okay? Then they lost to the Bills, as expected. They lost to the Raiders, even though that was one of the wins that I changed on my schedule. I turned that from a loss to a win. They disappointed me, dropped me back down to 9-8 on the season. So hopefully they can get this win because, man, I'm going to say this. This is actually one of the games that I had as a win earlier, even before the preseason started. If I'm keeping it real with you guys, I am actually changing it to a loss, but I hope they end up proving my original prediction correct and they get a W, because if they don't, that's going to be very bad news for the rest of the Dolphins season, even if, you know, they do win a few of those games that, you know, coming up on the soft part of the schedule. So anyway, that's enough of me talking. You guys get the picture. I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's hard, man. This Dolphins team is the same old Dolphins team. There are a lot of the same issues, and there are massive concerns and red flags. And I'm sorry, like, I'd rather be surprised than disappointed, and they got to earn it from me. So, yeah, that's what I feel. That's how I see it. That's my evaluation. And even though it's not the outcome that people, you know, want, and that I hope I'm wrong, I hope at least people can appreciate my perspective. And if you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.